foremost, I want to welcome and thank Chelsea Fields for being with us here today. We're going to talk about how to start your own beauty brand. She has firsthand knowledge. She has been through it all, seen it all, and she's going to share some knowledge. So, Chelsea, I would love for you to kind of dive into who are you? What's your background? What brought you here today in terms of your timeline?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. So about me, I'm always so weird with these, but
Yeah.
I think I got this. So I'm from Pennsylvania originally. I was born in Philadelphia, and I've been surrounded pretty much all my life by women in business. So like every woman in my family, for the most part, had their own business. My grandmother owned a bridal shop in Philly. My aunt owned a wig shop for women who are experiencing hair loss, or people who just wanted to come in and buy wigs. My cousin owned a salon. So this has just been like what I've grown up around. I've grown up in the hair salon setting and the beauty
Yeah.
setting and all of that. So it kind of just, I guess you would say, came naturally to me, like, seeing it and being in the thick of it all the time. It's like,
Yeah.
it was kind of second nature to be involved creatively in something that was in the beauty nature of the world. So once I graduated from high school, at first I wanted to do fashion, but fashion, ooh, it's tough to get a job and get a
Yeah.
well-paying job. So it kind of, I guess in a way, because fashion and beauty go together, I kind of just pivoted. I was like, okay, I want to be a makeup artist. So I started working at, of course, you started from the ground up. I started at Macy's. That was my first big job. And besides working for my family, I worked for all of them in all of their stores. So that was from about 13 to like 18, I did that. And then, first big girl job, we worked at Macy's, and I worked in it was, my mom was like, wow, your first job was at Macy's. Most teenagers, it's like, Taco Bell, Burger King,
I was Cold
Target.
Stones.
Yeah, right. So I was, my mom was like, wow, that's pretty high end. I was like, yeah, hopefully it works out. So I worked in the cosmetic/fragrance department, but I was on the fragrance side, and I learned a lot, in terms of customer service and customer relations, events, PR, et cetera, et cetera. Like I learned all that. And then I was like, okay, I give myself 1 year here and I'm gonna go find like a real makeup job. So after a year at Macy's, I ended up working for Ulta Beauty for a year. And that was a really interesting experience. I learned about, what's nice when you work there, you get trained by all the brands in the store. Like they'll come in and they'll like train you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like all the new techniques, new products, and you get gratis. So you get like the products to try them out, which is really cool.
Nice.
That was the best part of the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would get all the products, and I read a lot of believe it or not, art books, to improve like my color theory and then application and all that. I watched, and this was in the beginning years of YouTube, because this was about 2013. So YouTube was pretty young still. So Bub's Beauty, all those people that have had kids now and are like done with all that. So I watched all
retired
of them.
The accounts.
Literally. And I then, after a year there, I said I'm gonna give myself a year here. I would always give myself like a timeline of like when I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So after a year of doing that, I transitioned into my first brand job, which was a Too Faced Cosmetics. That's who I worked for. And at the time, I was the youngest person in the area. I think I was 22, and everybody else was like 35, 37, 40. So I was like the baby in my area, and I was the only person from my area. So I was doing Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey. So I was driving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was about, like an 80-mile radius of stores that I was doing, because I had all of the yeah, it was a lot. I had the Ulta accounts, and I had the Sephora accounts and Macy's. So I had all three, which was like, so that was kind of my that primed me to get to where I am now. So it was like that. Then I went to Anastasia, and I was with them for a few years. And then I was with It Cosmetics. I've been all around the world at this point. Yeah. There we are.
You've seen it all. Which one was your favorite experience-wise, just working with that brand, in all, whether it be Ulta or like an actual solid singular brand?
So for me, that's such a good question. I would have to say that my favorite was Anastasia. I loved working for Anastasia. I really did, because I learned a lot about not just makeup, but like face structure, how to
Mm-hmm.
emphasize certain parts of the face, you know, contouring. I was with them when all they had was brows at
Yeah.
first. Yeah, like I got
Never
there when
forget.
they had nothing.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I got to kind of watch a brand grow from being like, you know, they were kind of elite at the time because, you know,
Oh
Anastasia
yeah.
started out as like a brow bar. Like they weren't like makeup. Like she did like supermodels brows.
Right.
So, you know, Christy Turlington, Naomi Campbell, all of them come to her to get their
Mhm.
brows done. Still to this day, I'm
No
pretty
big deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
no big nothing, you know, it means nothing.
Easy.
So yeah, so I learned like, you know, golden ratio for eyebrows and all that cool stuff. I learned a lot and I made a lot of really cool connections. So it was a really great job. I enjoyed it. I did.
Oh, oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Obviously, you've had like an incredibly full past in the beauty space, whether that be growing up seeing it or just like you said, within your career, all the different
Yeah.
places that you've kind of seen.
Oh yeah.
Um, with working in all of those areas, like what was the defining moment for you to be inspired to start your own beauty brand?
You know, I think it came around the time that I actually just quit like doing the job all around like freelancing. It was around January. So it's funny because it was like right before COVID that I like stopped and
Hmm.
I just it turned into not as much of an enjoyable experience anymore. It was just
Yeah,
like work on work on work and I was just
yeah.
exhausted. Like, you know, especially because we had just finished up holiday at that point. So I was just
Mm.
like, I don't know if I can physically do another year of this.
Yeah,
Like it was
yeah.
just crazy because you know you have like events every week and then you have like oh we're here for this goal, our goal is 5,000 for the day, and then you have Black Friday and then it's just it
Hmm.
was a lot and I was
Nonstop.
just yeah and I was like I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, especially because if you ever notice like when you go into let's say like a Macy's or something like that, everyone you see in cosmetics has been there for years. Like
Really?
yeah, a lot of them have been there. I had people when I was working there. I stopped working there in 2012 and I went back now and they're still there. Like they've been there for like
Hmm.
35 years. And I was like,
Yeah,
I cannot do this for that long. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I just started to feel very like stifled, I guess. I was just like, I need to like
Hmm.
do this myself. I can do this. Like I could definitely like after everything I've done with this,
Yeah,
I can do this. So that's
yeah.
where everything started really.
Well, thank goodness for that because here you are now doing amazing, putting out amazing products. I have them, they're
Yes.
great. So I'm really excited about it. But okay, jumping into kind of like how to do it. I mean, I think the hardest part in anything, whether for me it be going to the gym,
Yeah.
is that first step, putting on your shoes, doing it. So when you decided like this is what I'm doing, like I'm going to start my own business in cosmetics, what was the first step that you took to go from the conceptualization of what you wanted to do to kind of bring it into this realm of reality?
Okay, so my first thing because I had dealt with so many brands, I got to kind of watch like the steps of like how this
Hmm.
worked, which was very helpful. But for me, like you said, conceptualization is everything. Like
Yeah.
trying to figure out, you know, it's like, okay, I have this idea in my head. What is the best way to go about executing this? You
Hmm.
need to figure out, even before all of that, like, am I really passionate about this? Like, do I really want to do this? Because you're going to have to commit like everything you have to
Yeah.
getting the product made, to getting your concepts realized, to formalization, to every little step. It's going to take a part of you in that step. Like you have to
Yeah.
you are like one with your product at that point. So
Yeah.
I think it's very important to not go in with like, you know, everybody goes in with the rose colored glasses, like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
it's gonna be phenomenal. It's like, yeah, but before it gets phenomenal, it's gonna be really hard. So I
Yeah.
think having your head on straight with regards to, okay, I want this to be this way. How do I get it from my brain to this next step? So I think figuring out your niche is really important. That's like one of the
Yeah.
first things that you have to do. Like, okay,
Yep.
what I have this product. Every product that is makeup under the sun exists, but what's going
Yep.
to make my product different from everybody else's?
Hmm. And for you, how did you explore making it different? Were you like, okay, is it my background? Is it my formulation? Like, how did you go about kind of figuring out your niche?
So for me, it was very much like having, you know, had to be on top of trends so much.
Hmm.
I wanted to create something that was timeless, that would not be, you know, out of style in the next 3 months, in the next year, in the
Yeah.
next year or two, you know, something that can be consistently worn forever. Because
Hmm.
trends are great, don't get me wrong, but like I'll speak for myself. I don't have the money to follow trends all the time. So,
Yeah, I mean,
I need like my go-to thing. Like, what
yeah,
are the go-to things, even in my kit as a makeup artist, that I have to have? So that was a
yeah.
big thing I looked at. Like, what is this one thing I can't live without? So that's how I started, bringing everything to my niche. Like, what is
Hmm.
it that I have to have that most women I know that I've dealt with have to have too? So that was a big thing.
Yeah, I love that your first products kind of came out of necessity for yourself,
Yes,
because I feel like that's where like real authentic, like especially marketing yourself as a brand, like people love authenticity, right? So I feel like you're like, I needed this, I wanted it, I made it,
definitely,
and now if this helps you too, amazing.
totally.
Um, cool. So I don't know much about the whole production of cosmetics, but
Yeah.
I would love to know more about like your products are great. What goes into actually, so you're like, okay, I want to do liquid lips or
Mhm,
I want to do brows.
mhm.
How do you go into the actual formulation process? Like, okay, so you've conceptualized everything, you have your brand name that you want, everything on paper looks good.
Yeah.
Who do you call for production? What's the next step to getting samples of what you need or
Right.
formulation and all of
So
that?
totally. That's a very, very good question because I think a lot of people wonder about that.
Hmm.
There's multiple ways that you can go about it. You can either go the white label route, which means that you go to a factory and they have a certain product that multiple different people have, but you're able to put your name on it. So that's one option that you can do. Or
Cool.
you can do private labeling where it's the same kind of concept, but you can tweak and decide like, okay, I want this in there. I don't want this in there. I want this color, but I don't want this color. I want this label, et cetera, et cetera. So you can do that. Or you can go custom formulation, which is, whew,
Wild.
yeah, because that's the most like expensive way to do
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have to get in contact with like, a cosmetic chemist. You have to tell them what you want. They have to work on the formulations. Then,
Hmm.
they send you samples of the formulation you were looking at. You decide if it's, what you want, and they make sure it's stable so that it's not going to make, the
Right.
skin flare up or anything like that. So
Hmm.
that's the third way. And then you also have DIY because there are people who do do it yourself makeup
Yep.
products as well. So those are like the four ways that you can go about it.
Hmm.
Everybody's different, but I am just to give you an example of a brand that used to be private label and is now custom formulation. Morphe Cosmetics, they used to
Wow.
be private label, so they would go to a factory and be like, "We like these colors that you guys have. We want this palette to have these colors in it, but we want to add, this name or things like
Yeah.
that." And now they're very much they have their own factories themselves that are custom, custom formulation. So yeah,
I feel like you just told us something that we're not supposed to know. Like, I'm sure that that's public knowledge, but I almost feel like I'm not supposed to know that about Morphe. But I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but but that's very cool. So, in your professional opinion, what's the easiest way? Would you say that white labeling would just, if you just want to get started, that's a good way just to get your name on some product and get it out there?
Yeah, white labeling is good because it's kind of foolproof. It's the formulation is set, the colors are set. You just
Hmm.
pretty much slap your label on it and that's it. Now, the downside of that can be, and then not for everybody, it's not a downside, but
Hmm.
another company will have your same exact formulation and everything with their name on it. So,
Yeah.
but that can easily be, not a big deal if you, put it out there in like a super
Hmm.
creative way, or, you have people that really love it and you send out like packages and stuff like that. That can easily be addressed. So, yeah, that's
Hmm.
the easiest way probably. And then next would probably be, um, recommendation wise for me anyway, I would say
Hmm.
private labeling is really good too because you have a little more control and a little more of a say
Yeah.
so what it is.
Hmm.
It will cost a little more, but I think it's worth it personally.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And then and now I'm just very curious. And so for packaging for
Uh-huh.
white labeling or private label, if you aren't going custom, do you get to customize the actual packaging that it comes in, or is that something that you also pick off the shelf for these?
So it's pretty much set. Like you can change the font and stuff like that, but the
Hmm.
boxes are already pretty much what they are. Because I think if I remember correctly from what I saw when I went to like one of these factories,
Hmm.
everything is already like there. It just has no label on it, pretty much. So yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then we have a clarification question in the chat. What is the difference between private labeling and white labeling again?
Okay, so private labeling, you are allowed to make certain decisions. Like you can decide what your packaging is. You can decide, I like this color, but I don't like this color. Like especially with sets of things, like you can be like, I don't want that. I want to put this color in there instead. Or I like these two colors. Can you put them together? That type of thing. Whereas white label is it's ready, it's on the shelf. You just need your label, and it's ready to be sent out right away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So given a timeline, just so people know how long it takes, what is the general time frame of production in this, or not even production yet, the formulation process?
Ooh, yeah, formulation can take, if you're, it depends on like what you're making, right? Like, if you're making lips, it's going to be a little easier than if you're making foundation. And the hardest is like skincare and stuff like that. That's like, that can take
Yep.
up to like a year and some change. But in terms of like lip and eye products, usually like maybe 6 to 8 months maximum. And on the short side, maybe 3 to 5 months. So yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. We have a question in the chat. How did you get started with funding and finding the right vendors to use?
Yes. Okay. So funding is always a fun question, right? I literally saved all the money I had and I funded everything myself. I didn't have like, it's really hard when you are a starter business. You can't get loans and stuff like that because you don't have like proof of, okay, she's trustworthy to, get this loan and to pay it back, blah, 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 because they don't use your personal credit when you have a business. So you have to build up your business and, open credit cards and all that stuff.
Yep.
And I'll speak for myself. I'm totally able to be transparent about this. I did not have good credit. So it was like, okay, well, I have to save my money. I'm just going to have to pay out of pocket and everything. So I saved my money, my little ducats, put
Whatever
together
you
what I
gotta
could.
do.
Yeah. And luckily my parents were really great because they super, super supported everything I was doing. And they were like, yeah, just let us know, like, if you need something, which was
That's great.
very helpful. Yeah. I did not crowdsource or anything. I didn't, like, which thinking about it now, I'm like, maybe I should.
I mean,
But
you could have. I mean, the products are amazing, so you definitely could have. You just need at least one or two people to believe in the vision, and then you can take it from there.
Definitely. So yeah, that was how I funded it. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
It was, and finding the right vendors.
Now, vendors is a really interesting thing because Google obviously is our best friend. Everybody can look on Google and find who you want your vendor to be. But another thing that people don't kind of forget about in a way, you can also start looking on Alibaba, because Alibaba has vendors on there and you can get into contact with them and ask them for like catalogs of like what they have or what their options are, how much it will cost for this, because then once you get into contact with them, they'll be willing to tell you like, okay, for this quantity, this is what it would cost, and these are your options to personalize it, customize it, etc., etc. So definitely Alibaba, Google. Let me think what else. There's a lot of even on Google there are a lot of resources that have vendors on them. But do not buy, I'm telling you now, do not buy a vendor list, please. I beg you. Vendor lists are like the worst.
Number one tip of this whole thing: do not buy a vendor list.
Exactly, because if you buy a vendor list, you might as well just be doing white labeling at that point, really, because everybody is using the same vendors. And usually I've noticed for like lashes and lipstick, it's always the same like 3 people on everybody's vendor list. So like try not to do that. Try to find somebody yourself that really can, supply the need that you have so that you can really make the best product you can.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Of course.
Great question, Lauren. By the way, we actually we have another one from Lauren. Did you have to ship the products yourself to customers after ordering from the vendor?
Yes, I do not recommend drop shipping. Never. Like, please, if you can avoid it, do not do it, especially because the hard thing with drop shipping is that when you do that, they know where your source is too, which is not, you don't need anybody to know that. It's not really like something that needs to be known. You know what I'm saying? Because then there comes the question, well, I could have bought that myself. It's like, actually you couldn't have, because you're not a business,
Yeah.
And then you have to run into the possibility of it not getting there on time, and you can't send them tracking because you don't have it. And it doesn't come in your name either if you drop ship it. It comes in the name of the person who's shipping it to them. So that just blows your whole cover right there. You never want to do that if you can avoid it, because it's just, there's too many headaches that go into that. So I never did that. I shipped it myself, and I used Shopify, because Shopify will print out your labels for you and everything, and you can pay them, or you can get an account with FedEx, UPS, etc.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, with FedEx and them, it gets really expensive to ship like internationally. It gets really expensive. So just be
Yeah.
prepared for that type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, branding is everything.
Totally.
I mean, there are millions of videos on unboxing, and it's the whole experience.
Yeah.
So you want it to be you, right?
Yes, and special too,
Yeah.
because it's like, this is, I'm giving you a part of myself. This is my, like, that's your baby. It's like, you know, you're
Oh
not going to
yeah.
send your baby in a box from somewhere else, you know?
Right. Totally. I love that. I'm pulling that out as a quote for this.
Yes.
We have another question in the chat from Amanda. Do you have any tips for ordering rounds of samples?
Ooh, yes. Okay, so if you can, see if you can order sample sets. A lot of companies will do, well, we have an eye set with all the eye samples. We have a lip
Mhm.
set with all the lip samples. That's what I did because I wanted to see everything, because it can get really expensive to order things like solo, because then they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're going to make it this amount of shipping. They make the shipping higher the smaller the order is a lot of times too,
Mhm.
depending on, like, you know, what factory you're dealing with. So try to get a set, see if you can talk to them and be like, hey, how much would it cost to get all of your eye products as samples, because they'll usually send you one of everything, which is very helpful. And it helps
Mhm.
you to make all the big decisions that you need to make. So ask if they have sets of samples. Um, don't ever buy a single sample, because just the shipping alone will be like $50, which is like,
Mhm.
what, you know? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. That's good to know,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, Lauren, I see your question about marketing. We're actually going to get to that, so I'm going to hold your question for now. But you had another one that's, are you still shipping from home?
Yes, I am. I don't have, like, you know, my own like shipping place as of right now. We're working on it for
Very exciting.
2022. Yeah, we're working to open an office space where I can just ship everything out from, and we're adding some new things. So, well, I know that that's a question for later, so
Yeah.
I'll talk about that later. So yeah.
Very exciting.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. Cool. So just kind of wrapping up this whole section on formulation, what is the one tip that you wish you knew when going into formulation? Your number one, you're like, no one told me this, and
Okay.
I ran into this issue.
Something I wish I had known during formulation. Okay, I wish at the beginning that I had asked more about like shelf life and finishes.
Oh
That's
yeah.
something that's really important, because it's not that the product necessarily has gone bad. It's just that, based off of, like, it could be so many things: where you're storing it at,
Mm-hmm.
um, the temperature of the area that you're storing it in. It can
Mm-hmm.
change the formula, which I did have a problem with way back when I first started. I was like, oh my God, like what? And they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to do this, 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 and this. And I was like losing my mind. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so that really is very important. Ask all those questions. Like,
Yeah.
where should I store this? What's the temperature? Does this have any oils in it that could, like, you know, pool? Because that can happen too,
Mm-hmm.
where the oils can pool out of the eyeshadow, and then they'll leave like this ring around
Oh,
the color. It's not because it's like, you know, bad or anything. It's just that the chemical makeup changes based off of like where it's stored at and stuff. So yeah, stuff
right.
like that. Ask everything you can, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny because consciously we know that makeup expires, but
Yes.
we don't I would never have thought about it if I had ordered it and it was sitting there. I just That's a great kind of call out just to reiterate, is that
Yeah.
makeup does expire and makeup does need to be handled with
Yes.
care.
Very much
Yeah.
so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Storage and everything are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. We have another question in the chat.
Sure.
Do you recommend working with your family or adding your family to a business? And the context of that is they say that you can't always mix business with family. And do you have any advice for doing that?
I think I've heard that many times, and I think it can apply. I think you have to know your family, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, do we fight all the time? Are we going to get along? Can I make these decisions with their support?
Hmm.
Or are they going to not support me? There's so many things that go into that. I think it can work if you have the type of
Oh, for
family
sure.
that's very like supportive and, you know, listen, we got you if it flops. But then some people don't have, you know, unfortunately don't have families like that. So I think you really have to evaluate it on a case by case basis. What is my family like? Have I ever
Right.
seen them in business with other people?
True.
Always observe that too, because if they treat another person a certain type of way, that could apply to you and be magnified. So I think you just have to
Oh,
be
yeah.
really aware of who you're dealing with in your family too. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Good advice. Awesome. Well, next up, moving from product, obviously there's outside of formulation and the actual product, there is a whole business to be had and to
Yes.
and to set up.
Yes.
So products aside, what else do you need? I guess if you had your short list of things that you
Mhm.
need to start to get your business started, what is that in terms of what you used for a website, marketing, setting up a business? What
Yes.
are your top kind of checklists where you're like, these will get you started?
First off, you need a good camera. That's very important. A good
Okay.
camera to take pictures of yourself, people that you
Mm-hmm.
use the makeup on your products, because all of the photography I do is for my products. I do it myself pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, so I learned a lot, believe you
Yeah.
me. Like,
Yeah.
social media is very important. Use it to your fullest advantage, you
Mhm.
know, because now we can promote, posts
Oh,
and
for
stuff.
sure.
Like all of that is so great. Like, that had just started when I kind of started my business. That had just kind of like started the beta steps on like Instagram and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
utilize social media, every single one that you have. It could be the small thing. It could be LinkedIn. It could be
Yep.
Pinterest. It could be Twitter. Instagram, of course, is a big one, and YouTube is a big one too. Use all of that to your advantage. Finding a good, like you said, a web provider that you trust, that's going to make sure that you're able to handle your business the way that you want to. I recommend Shopify. Shopify is amazing.
Yep.
Like that is my like favorite. Like I've had
Number
everything.
one.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had Shopify. I've had big cartel, I think is what the other one was
Yep.
called. I've had Wix. Shopify is the one because Shopify will give you analytics too, so you can see like who's on your site at the time that you're like looking at the numbers, who's been on your site for the month, how much money's been spent for your site for the month.
Mm-hmm.
um, you could have multiple people, like if you have a business that has multiple people working in it, multiple people can access the website, and you can have like a POS system too. So you can use it for
Perfect.
pop-ups and everything. So it's amazing. I love Shopify. If you're just starting though and you're a little like, Shopify is not easy because you need someone to code it for you. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to use the templates that they have, I would recommend Wix is good to start e-commerce wise. Like if you don't want to go in and pay the full amount of money that Shopify is, because they have multiple plans. So they have like the cheaper plan. I think that's like $9.99. It's like the starter. Then they
Mm-hmm.
have the $30 plan. Then they have like the $90 plan. I'm going to tell
Yeah.
you straight up, you don't need the $90 plan right away, because that's more for like the super 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 big Shopify sites. Like a lot of people don't know, Kylie Cosmetics is a Shopify site. So
Mm-hmm.
she has the like $100 package, which involves like all kinds of things that you don't really need to worry about, from the beginning. So
Mm-hmm.
go with the $29 one. That's the best one to start out with, because it'll give you everything you need and then some, so that you can learn and then eventually pivot into the full on huge plan. So
Cool.
yeah, there's that. Let me think what else. You kind of even have to prepare yourself mentally. Like you need to have your head on very straight, like to take on this endeavor, because there's so many things that could happen, and there's so many things that are going to happen. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I'm going to be very honest. You're going to run into issues with shipping on time, then you're going to run into issues with,
Mm-hmm.
oh, my product's not getting here when I said it was supposed to come out, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So you have to be ready to pivot at any time. Like, okay, like how are we going to
Mm-hmm.
address this issue? So don't panic.
Yeah.
Problem solving, all those things. Like I think a lot of times when we look at what we need to start a brand, we look at physical things, but like your
Mm-hmm.
mental has to be like
There.
phenomenal. Like yeah,
Yeah.
or else you're gonna be in the corner somewhere like crying.
Yeah.
So definitely, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what
Flexibility with all of this is key because it's all about how you, as much as you can be proactive,
yeah,
you're gonna have to be reactionary. And so
totally.
just knowing that it's gonna happen, I think, like you said, is number one.
Yeah.
I have a question about brand. So obviously, how did you have an amazing brand? You have your logo, you have your whole identity. How did you go about creating your logo, getting your branding together? Is that something you did yourself or did you outsource it? And if you did outsource it, what was the process of that?
So I had an original logo. You start out with whatever
Yep.
you can make or figure out, and you go from there. If you're just starting, I totally recommend that. Like if you don't have a lot of money, you're like, listen, I gotta figure it out. Use Canva. Canva is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Like that is one of the best sites to use to create anything, especially if you're doing wording or whatever. That's wonderful. So
Mm-hmm.
I started out with, my little my little wording for
Yep.
my as my logo. And then within the past 6 months, I outsourced it to an artist that I know. And I told her what my vision was. I was like, listen, I just want it to be very like powerful, beautiful, feminine, all of that. So I just like, I gave adjectives of like what I wanted, and she shot me a few things. I was like, I want a heart in there somewhere. So like, that's
Yeah.
like a good thing. And then I sent it to her and I showed her what I wanted. She sent it back to me, and it was the prismatic heart logo that we have now, which I love.
Yeah.
So it's definitely
It's great.
important to just convey your vision, convey it clearly, and you'll be fine. Like, and
Yeah.
don't worry if you don't have the money to do it right away. You will start out with words if you have to, you know, whatever. Just make it look cute. It could be just one color. Like, it's not a big deal. Just to get your foot in the door, just get started, and everything else will come at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So with all of those things, like we talked about, you have your website, you have your logo, you have the actual product.
Yeah.
What would you, of these things that you need to get started, what would you recommend doing first?
Oh, okay. So
Whether that be building your business or getting your products in place.
I would say it's really important to probably start building the business. The products, I can see that, but I think it's more important to establish the brand identity first, because that's what everybody's going to know you as. You know, get that Instagram started, get that page started on whatever, you know, get the word out there, tell your friends, your family, you know, all of those things. Of course, have your products in mind, like have it like, you know, start working on it, but it doesn't have to be at your front door, because what is it at your front door for if you haven't even talked about the brand to anybody yet? It's just gonna sit there in a box and you're not gonna be selling anything. So I think having your concept together, having, you know, even like if you want to start with your business cards and stuff like that, like, hey, I'm starting this brand, just so you know, just to give you a reminder to feel it out, I'm gonna send you this, blah, 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 stuff like that. Like word of mouth is super powerful. And now we can do it digitally. So definitely establish who you are, like, hey, I'm so and so, this is what I do. I sell makeup, I sell perfume, I sell candles, whatever that is. Establish yourself, talk about what it is that you're going to be doing, and then you can start teasing, like, okay, this is what we're coming up with. Like, do you like, you know, even like little polls and stuff. That's why I started off with like, are you a liquid lipstick lover or are you a gloss queen? Stuff like that. Like, you know, just little things to like keep yourself in people's minds. And then when you're ready, that's when you're like, okay, we have this product coming out. And that's, it builds the excitement around what you're doing. So yeah, I think establishing the brand and starting to tell people about it, put it out there, put feelers out there is the most important thing to start with.
Yeah, I love that. And there's also something to be said about manifesting. Like once you say it out loud to people, it'll happen.
Yes, so, it becomes real at that point.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part. When some people have this failure to launch because they want to keep things until it's perfect, until it's ready. And it's like, if you just start saying it out loud, you'll do it. It'll happen.
And saying it will force you to deliver, because now you've said it. So it's like, is your word good or is it not good? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, now I have to do it, you know? So that's very helpful.
Right. I think there's also something really cool here. Obviously, the whole premise of Hello Gloss is that we're all people who love beauty, but then also the whole community is creators. So you have this amazing platform to use where you can actually have your community that are already loyal to you help build, like you were saying, do the polls, do all of that. Like, it's so amazing to use your community as your focus group and have them feel a part of the product that you're creating.
Definitely, because it makes them a part of the process. So they feel like, ooh, if I made my perfect product, like, what would it be? And then they, like, you know, they want to give their opinions and their ideas, all of that. So using your audience as your focus group is pivotal, like, because if you're making it for them, then they should have a say in it. And if not, they're just going to be like, oh, okay, well, you know, that's really cool, but like, you know, I'm not looking for that. So like, next, you know, you don't want
that. Yeah, totally. We have a question in the chat.
Sure.
We did touch on this in the beginning, but just to reiterate, when did you decide you wanted to be a business owner / entrepreneur?
That was so that was early 2020, right before COVID. Just to reiterate things, I was just experiencing like severe burnout at that point in terms of like my job and, you know, being a freelancer and driving to this store and driving to that store and, you know, coming home at like 11:30 at night after being out since like 10:30 that morning. So I was just like, no, I was like, it had been in my mind for a while. I knew I always wanted to do this eventually, but I was like, there's no time greater than the present. So I just dropped everything. Like I was like, I'm done. Like I quit. Like
Yeah.
good luck. And it was a perfect timing though, because my boss, who I loved, she ended up shifting to Charlotte Tilbury. So she moved brands completely. And I was like, okay, this is the sign. Like I don't want to work for anybody else but her. So
Yeah.
you know, and then they started wanting me to drive to like Staten Island. I was like, first off, don't you have to take like a ferry over there? Like
Yeah.
I was like, okay, no. I was like, this is it. I'm done. I just dropped everything. And in 2020 is when the Vanity Cosmetics was born. And here we are.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Universe drops little hints here and there.
Hello.
You just got to be looking out for them.
Hello.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So there are, like you said, there are so many things to consider in terms of having your head clear, because what can go wrong will go wrong eventually, just in business as we learn, as we become new entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And so we kind of touched on funding a little bit, and I would love to, like we said, we have websites, we have product, we have all of that. In your ideal world, looking back, how much do you think someone would ideally, at a minimum, should save when starting their own beauty brand? Let's say with a couple of SKUs.
Okay, I would probably say, because especially if you're going to start out in small increments, the smaller the increment, the higher, like the cost is more. As much as irritating as that is, because it is going crazy at first. But when you order less, they charge you more. And that goes with shipping too. Like the shipping is going to be expensive at that point, you know? So I would probably say, how many SKUs are we talking? Like maybe like 5 or 6?
Yeah, like nothing huge, like minimum amount. I would say 5 or 6.
Okay, so I started mine. I ordered 50 palettes to sell. And that was around 1,000. So I would say, with like, you know, customizing the packaging and everything. So I would say $1,000. I would definitely say 1,000 plus. Like you definitely need that to get, especially the quality of what you're probably going to want. You want it to be like, it's your first product, you want it to be like special. You know what I'm saying? So be willing to put in the money. So 1,000 plus, I would say.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's I love that as a marker, just knowing what you need just to get started.
Definitely, because the goal is to sell it at usually around 3 to 3.5 times what you paid to get it made. So, you know, if it costs you, let's say a palette, if it costs you $10, you want to sell it for like about 35, just to make what you spent back and then some. So
you got to make a profit.
Definitely, because
you are worth it.
Yes, absolutely, because you know, you run the risk of it not all selling at first, but then you know, once it catches on, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember that thing that you had, like, do you still have that? And then that's when you're like, yes, I do. You pull it out, and then you know, you can sell it still. So it's important to always be able to meet the demand, but to never buy so much product that you don't even have customers for yet, and then you end up wasting money. So Yep,
that's a great tip. We have a question in the chat.
Sure.
It says, do you have any tips? Oh, we have a couple. Do you have any tips for how to decide the quantity of the order when you first start out?
Okay, so usually most places, I'm going to be very honest, so I got lucky. I found places that would do as low as 50. Most places, but if you know where to look, you can find them. But most places, it's usually 100 plus, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing like a customization, they want like usually 3,000 plus ordered. Like if you're doing like full custom product, then that can get really pricey. But if you're doing like white label or private label, then it's usually like 50 plus. So I'm sorry, can you reiterate the question? I feel like I went
Oh yeah. No worries. It was, how did you decide, do you have any tips for how do you decide the quantity when you first order?
Okay, so I would start with a small quantity, like regardless, like even if you think you got it like that, because you can always order more. You don't ever want to order too much, because then you have product sitting there and eventually, you know, it's going to go bad and you're not going to be able to sell it. So you just got to throw it in the trash, which is a horrible feeling. You don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say start with 50 if you can. And then like as your clientele builds, it just sells out, you buy 50 more. Or you can also do the whole pre-order thing, but you have to be really careful about how you do that. So I would definitely say 50, start with that, and then go from there.
Perfect. And then the follow-up to that is going over your tips again for pricing your product. I know you just mentioned, Could you
Sure.
repeat
Yeah.
that?
So in terms of pricing, right, I venture to make 3 to 3.5 times what I spent. So if you spent, like, let's say, we'll do lips. If you spent $5 per lip, right, then you would want to mark it at 15 and up. You don't want to make it like too expensive, because lips are kind of difficult, because it's like you always have that person who's like, well, I can go to Ulta, I
Yeah,
can go to NYX and buy this like $5 one. I'm like, yeah, but it's not going to give you the same feel that mine gives you. That's what you always have to have in mind. Price it for the quality that it is, but don't overprice it, because to be fair, there are a lot of things out there that might be similar to yours, or people have favorites, and you don't want to cut yourself by making it too expensive. So just always be aware of what you're doing, unless you really believe in yourself. And listen, if you believe in yourself like that, I'm here for it. I really
yeah,
am.
you're like, if you're
You know,
Lemaire, that's fine.
definitely, but just always be cognizant of who you're serving to. It really depends on a lot. Like, your demographic can really determine, what can I price this at? You know what I'm saying? Like, even age, there's a lot to that. So yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, your communities, like, and we just touched on this, your community, I mean, ask. Just be
Yeah.
like, do you love high-end makeup, or do you love drugstore makeup? There's
Yes.
just there's I mean, there's audiences in both fields. So I
Yes.
think you never know.
Totally.
Cool. So I guess moving on, launch. I think that is the most exciting time of creating a new product, is
Yes.
you're getting it out there. And as an indie brand,
Yeah.
you're going up against the giants.
Yes.
And so how did you create buzz as an indie brand, to be like, how did you mark your space within this multi-billion dollar
Yeah.
industry?
So a big thing that I used was my job experience. Having worked for the brands I worked with, it gives me an expertise level that not everybody is going to have. So
Yep,
that
yep.
was very helpful to be like, yeah, I've worked for this company, I've worked for this company, and now I'm branching off and doing my own thing. People always found that interesting, like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like,
So
it's
telling
not
your
so simple.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have your story together, whatever it is. Whether it's like, oh, I was an art major and I left school and I wanted to put beauty into the world, so I started a cosmetics line. Like,
Right.
people really love stuff like that. People love
Mm-hmm.
a good story, and that goes with like any sort of marketing of anything. So
Right.
tell your story, be honest about who you are, what you want to do, what you want to supply, all of those things. People love all of that, like, they really do. So that was my thing. I was like, I'm a makeup artist, I worked for this person, I worked for that person, and then I would also show, like, you kind of use your social media. Like, I use my
Oh, for sure.
personal social media a lot. People are like, okay, so I see what her brand identity is through that too. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, like, usually, y'all, if y'all see my Instagram, I'm much more dramatic than this. But it's Saturday, so my skin's on a day off today.
Yep.
So they saw that and they were like, oh, okay, we see like what she's putting down. Like, use everything you have to kind of like show that full scope of what your brand is, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's a big
Cool.
thing.
Awesome. And then in terms of landing sales, I mean, what was the best marketing move you ever made as an independent brand owner, to be like, oh, that was good, like that
Yeah.
resulted for me?
So the best, oh man, okay, so I would have to say the best, and it was a risk, it really was, and it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. I put out my first product on Black Friday.
Ooh.
Yeah, my first full eyeshadow palette came out Black Friday 2020, and I was like, okay, I can do this, because having worked Black Friday, you kind of know, like, okay, I can do this if I put this out at this time.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I put it out on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Bold.
I was like, early sale, y'all. I put it on
Yeah.
sale right away. But what I did was to pivot that, I adjusted my price and made it higher. So then I was able to be like, okay, it's on sale, and I bumped it down to what the price what I was comfortable really making off of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a tip for you guys. If you are putting it out there, say it's on sale, and it is on sale, but just mark the price up a little higher and then take it down to what you're really willing to accept, and that will be your discount. So yeah.
I love that. I love utilizing I mean, it's a holiday, but pop culture.
Yes.
It's like, where's the conversation already happening?
Yes.
And how can you throw yourself into it to be like, this is already a viral topic, and now I'm going to make my brand a part of it somehow.
Exactly. You're pulling the, it's already like been done. Like, you know, Black Friday's been done, but this has not been done. Like, this is new on Black Friday. So be one of the first people to have it. It's really like building, like, people get really, I know you guys have probably all shopped Black Friday. So people get really like antsy. I know I do. I get like super excited. I'm like, what can I buy? I don't even really know if I need it, but like, you know, but like use that to your advantage. Like, okay, like it's Black Friday, guys. Look at what I have. This is new. Nobody has it. This is the first time. There's only this many amount. I told them the amount that was there too. I was like, we only have this many, so come get it while it's hot. Like, this is the first time. So, and it really worked, which I did not expect. I really didn't. Like, I did not think it was gonna work. I thought it was gonna bomb. I tried, like, whatever, but it worked. And that whole week was very like, I did that, and then I did Cyber Monday. I was like, for all y'all who didn't get it on Thanksgiving and Black Friday, we have Cyber Monday. So use your dates to your advantage. Whether it's, don't be scared to put it out on the holiday. People, there are shopping holidays. You know, everybody goes shopping on what is it, Memorial Day? You know, Memorial Day weekend is big. 4th of July weekend. Use those dates to your advantage. Like, you don't have to wait for a holiday, but if you're close to one, wait and see what happens. It's worth it. It really is.
I love it. I love what you're touching on really is the emotional sell, which everything is an emotional sell. And what you're saying is, it's that antsiness, it's that I don't want to miss out, it's that I'm going to feel good, or I'm going to make, or if it's for a holiday like Christmas, I want to give this to someone else to make them feel good. Everything is emotional.
Totally. Definitely. Everything that we as humans react to, we react with emotion to some degree, whether it's happy, sad, excited, wary, annoyed. It's very useful, especially for sales, to use emotions, as long as it's not negative, to like, you know, drum up like excitement and things like that. So yeah, totally.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I know that we're running up against time, so I want to ask my final question and then open it up for Q&A. Is what's next for the Vanity? Like, what's on the horizon?
Well, we have our lips now. If you go to our website, we have our lipsticks up currently, which is the liquid nylon collection. They're gorgeous. It's just a collection of 4 beautiful nudes that go with any makeup look, because I know how hard that can be to match. Like, you know, you have a dope eyeshadow look. You're like, what lip am I going to put with this? So we have nudes. We have 2 nudes, a nudish pink, and a regular nude. We have a chocolate color, and then we have like a pinky nude. So, you know, we've got you covered. And the reason we chose the name liquid nylon is because, you know, when you put on like nylons that are like the color of your skin, it just like finishes off everything. Like, it just looks amazing. So that's what we want our lips to do. So that's our concept. Our next thing though, we are working on our holiday palette, which is called the Frostbite Palette. So it's very
I love it.
frosty, pretty, glittery, sparkly, all those fun things that you have, you know, for the holidays. It reminds you of snow a little bit. So there's blues in there, there's purples in there, there's pinks in there. It's beautiful. So we're really
so excited.
Yeah, listen, I'm excited because I love lips, but I am an eyeshadow girl in the house. Like, that is my favorite thing. So I'm excited. I'll be doing a lot of videos and tutorials with it and stuff this time. So I'm excited to show that. And within the next few months, we'll be working on the Vanity Home, which is like things for your vanity room. So like rugs, throw pillows, you know, storage for your vanity, candles, the whole 9. So we're doing stuff.
That's exciting. I'm really excited.
I'm excited too. I can't wait to like show you guys everything I've been working on. Like, and eventually it will extend to different types of vanities for your room. So like round vanities, long vanities, stuff like that. So it's exciting.
Oh, that's amazing, because I'm in need of a new vanity. Mine is falling apart at this point.
Listen, I feel you. I feel you. Especially because you need different types for different rooms. I feel like everybody has like the long one, but that's not good for everybody's layout. So we're working on all that stuff too. So stay tuned, y'all.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And just shameless plug where people can find you on social media.
You can find us on Instagram at Shop Vanity Cosmetic, and you can find us online at shopthevanity.co.
Amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. Oh yeah, I was so excited to have you here. I personally learned a lot, which I'm really excited about. I might have to start a makeup brand now.
Do it.
I know. Now I need to. I have so much info.
I support you.
But I do want to open up the floor. I know that we had amazing questions
Definitely.
during the chat, but if you
Sure.
have any of them now, here is the time.
Yes, I'm open to every question. Ask away.
Yeah. So we'll give people a second if they have anything they want to
Can I
ask.
go
And
first?
oh yeah, please just throw it out there.
Insurance. Any recommendation, any company?
Ooh. So like a recommendation for a beauty company?
Well, as a brand and you're selling cosmetic, you would have to have a backup, like insurance. So
Oh,
any
yes.
company you would recommend, because in case anything would happen, because you don't want to run a business without insurance,
Yeah.
any insurance company you would recommend?
I know that I believe State Farm has a really good one because they'll insure your business, and if you travel, I believe they'll insure like your kit and everything you're traveling with as well. So take a look at them. They're one of the like main ones all of my makeup artist friends take a look at because they'll do business and they'll protect your assets as well. So definitely look at State Farm. They're phenomenal. Like I've had friends who have lost their products in transit, when they were traveling, and State Farm covered the whole thing and then some, like within like hours. So that's probably the perfect one to look at.
Thank you. That's
Of
awesome. I have a few
course.
more questions coming
No,
up.
go ahead.
How about the bookkeeping part? What would you like as a beginner? What do you think it's good to start with? Also
Okay.
asking for recommendation companies. That's something in your mind right now.
Okay. So bookkeeping is, as you know, super important. Like bookkeeping is everything because you need to know with your taxes. The nice thing I will say, if you have Shopify, Shopify will bookkeep for you, which is amazing because then you don't have to, usually those bookkeeping programs can be really expensive, like, because you have to pay for the year, et cetera, et cetera. But Shopify will do it for you. They'll actually also turn on like sales tax and all that stuff so that when they report everything to the IRS, the sales taxes are sent over there automatically, which is chef's kiss. Like I love that. So that's what I
Yeah.
use. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
Shopify, I would like to make this clear because I think
Uh-huh.
I got it confused. Shopify, it's helping you with bookkeeping, and also they'll help you create the website
Exactly.
and keeps all things like separate, whatever you need.
Exactly. So when tax time comes, you can just print out everything and send it over, or you can have it sent digitally over to the IRS and everything, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's
Okay.
a
And
really
I
great one.
think you also said it does show more details that a person as a business owner would want to know. I've seen
Yes.
some website tell, oh, this person from this place is looking at this,
Yes.
and then they
Yes.
already bought it, they already put the order.
Yes.
I
It
thought
will
that
tell you
was
all
so
that.
cool.
Yeah, it will tell you
Yeah.
all that. It'll tell you where they're at. It will tell you if they're a recurring customer or not. It'll also let you see who has tried to check out but like left the checkout, like and didn't buy, and you can send them an email and be like, hey, you left this. Why is
Right,
it
if they have it in the cart, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh
Yeah,
my
it's amazing.
God.
I
Shopify,
love it.
number one.
I
Not
love
Oh
Shopify.
sponsored,
wow.
should be sponsored.
Hello, I am a
Sponsored
witness.
by Shopify.
Yeah, Shopify
Uh-huh.
is everything you could want. Like it's amazing. Like I said, if you ever do a pop-up,
Wow.
you can use Shopify and you can shift everything to like a POS system. So if you ever have to use like a cash register, you can use Shopify to like handle that. It's amazing. It really is.
Wow. Wow. Do you actually talk to somebody in Shopify that will help you with this, like a person
Yeah.
on their end, and then you work together, they do what you're looking for?
Yeah, they have what they would call like account managers. So you can call in and be
Okay.
like, hey, I'm for this brand. I need help working on this. And they'll be like, yeah, we'll assign you someone immediately, and they'll assign you someone to work with you, which is amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's like seems like it's like 30% of the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dream come
Wow.
true. If you're a business owner, it's like what you would want because you really don't have time to worry about all that as much as you would like to. There's so many other things that need your attention. It's nice to know that you're in good hands with them.
Yeah, yeah, because you want to focus on like building the product.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question was, do you recommend making your own stickers in the beginning and just like placing them, or you think it would be better off finding a company that could do like the bottle with a printed label on it? I
You
mean,
can,
later on, of course, everybody would like to get the
yeah.
product, the label, the
Yeah.
boxing, everything all in one. But in the beginning, I think that would be way too difficult.
It is
And
difficult, yeah. And expensive
for me,
too.
my focus was a lip plumper, DIY lip
Nice.
plumper.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I'm asking, because my only thinking to start was just printing the label and then like manually putting on them.
You can absolutely
So
do that. Definitely. I would recommend, if you're going to do that, put the money in to buy a Cricut, the Cricut Explore Air. It's like this big, like, it's like, it looks like a giant printer, right? But you connect it to your computer and you can use all the fonts and all the pictures you have on your computer, and it will print it out on either vinyl that's colored, or you can print out the actual stickers and put them on there. Get a Cricut. I love it. Because I do that. I used to do that before I had the money to, you know, get the labels and everything. And it is the best thing you could ever buy. So Cricut Explorer Air 2, get one. It's I think it's around $250 to $300, but it's worth it because you can use it for everything.
I love Cricut. Yes.
good.
Cricut.
I heard of it, but I
Love.
wasn't sure like how, if they make big, small, because for
Yeah.
a lip plumper you need a tiny one. you
Oh
know?
yeah, it can make, honestly, I've even used them to make like nail decals and stuff, and they make stuff that's like this small up to stuff that's like super big. So yeah, definitely.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because also you know, for the name, and if you want to expand, you need those little stickers that go in the bottom,
Yes,
stuff like that.
definitely. Yeah.
I want to jump to a question in the chat really quick from Jamie. How do you know if a vendor is FDA approved?
Okay, so I deal with vendors that actually have the bunny and everything, and you can actually look up a lot of the vendors and see if they are FDA approved. You can also ask for the ingredient list, and then you can look on the FDA's website and read like what things have to be involved for it to be FDA approved. So that's a really good question, because I feel like a lot of people don't know that, but that's something very important to know, especially in the US. The FDA is super, super, super stringent. But I also even look at I forget the acronym for the European one, because they're even more stringent than the US. So if you see like the European Union FDA one, that's the one that you want, because that means like in every country it's perfect. Because even with the FDA, there are some things that like slip through the cracks here and there. If you look for the European version of that, I'm gonna actually look that up while
That would be a great pull.
yeah, because that's the one that you want. Let's see, European version of the FDA.
I'm like, look at this live collaborative session we're having right now.
Oh, definitely. I'm all about giving right information. Like I don't play misinformation,
Yeah.
so I got it. European FDA. Let's see, what is that called? Okay, the EMA. That's who you want to look for. If you can, see if you can find one that's approved by, that's EMA approved, because that is the most stringent one of all. Like it's even more stringent than the FDA.
Amazing.
Literally, yeah.
You're like, you're good. Ship it anywhere.
Yes, I checked, because there's a whole thing with the EMA. If there's an ingredient in there that's FDA approved and it's not EMA approved, sometimes they won't allow it to be shipped to their country. So that's a whole like,
yeah,
the whole thing with that. And I was just like, okay, no, I need to,
yeah,
you know,
right.
yeah.
Amazing. Cool. Any other questions? I know we ran a bit over. Thanks everyone for staying. But we can
I do
take,
not mind at all if y'all have
perfect. We can take one or two more if anyone has anything else. Again, you can just yell it out, come off mute. Oh, we have a question in the chat. Influencer collabs. Do you do influencer collabs?
I do. If you would like to work with the Vanity Cosmetics, please reach out to me at thevanitycosmetics@gmail.com, and I would be glad to, you know, talk to you, and you know, we can figure out like how we want to work together, if we want to work together, what would be the best method, etc., etc.
Perfect. And I've seen some of your influencer collabs. They're great.
Yeah, I've got some, honestly, I couldn't ask for more. I have some really great people, but I'm always looking for more. So,
Yeah.
you know, email me, you know, we can have a conversation, we can do a Zoom, we can figure things out.
Perfect. Awesome. And Lauren, I see that you said research. I'm not quite sure what the question is. If you want to clarify in the chat, or if you want to come off and ask, would love to get your question answered.
And I also want to say, I recommend, if you can, there are a lot of books on cosmetic formulation too. I recommend books more than websites sometimes, because books are like, it's written, it's there, like, you know, websites can change. So I'm very much like, let me go look at this book, see what it says. You know, if you are a person who wants to do DIY, you know, not everybody does that. So like, I totally understand, but you know, just for the sake of knowing the right questions to ask for anybody who wants to start a makeup brand in any capacity, there's plenty of books that you can read. Barnes and Noble sells a lot of them, and just look online, look up, you know, cosmetic formulation books, things like that. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, with that, I think that we might be wrapping it up then. Again, Chelsea, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. I learned a lot. I know that everyone else learned a lot as well. So thank you for joining us. And I can't wait to do this again and to see all the businesses that all of you come up with, because I know it's going to be awesome. But thank you so much. And I look forward to the Frostbite collection.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm so happy that you guys, I hope you all took something from this. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me at thevanitycosmetics@gmail.com, or you can email me at iconolash@gmail.com, which is ICONOLASH@gmail.com. That's my personal account. And I'll probably answer a little faster if it's a personal question, just because the orders pop up and everything gets pushed down. So yeah, if you have any questions or anything, please let me know. You can also reach out to me on Instagram at The Dope Doll, which is my personal Instagram. I'm on there 24/7. So you guys can always reach out to me with that. And yeah, it was so great talking to you. Thank you for this interview. And yeah, if you, hopefully we'll collab again in the future.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, I look forward to what comes next.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone has a great weekend. And with that, I'll see you next time.
See you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Have a
Both
great
of
day.
you.